Now at 5, placing the suspect at the Delphi murders crime scene. What today's testimony revealed about the bullet cartridge police found near Abby and Libby.
Most of us still in the 70s, but a cool down is coming. I'll have your weekend forecast.
We are 1 week away. What the city of Indianapolis is doing to welcome hundreds of thousands of Swifties. Live from Indy, you're watching 13 News.
On this 7th day of testimony in the Delphi murders trial, testimony centered around guns and ammo.
And as we have learned through this testimony so far, Abby Williams and Libby German died after someone slit their throats 7.5 years ago. But there was one bullet cartridge that was found by their bodies. Our senior investigative reporter Bob Siegel just stepped out of the courthouse in Carroll County.
And he joins us live from Delphi with a look at the testimony jurors heard today. Go ahead, Bob.
Only one witness so far today. Today's testimony all about that bullet cartridge you were just talking about, and prosecutors trying to link that bullet cartridge to Richard Allen. Now, jurors heard earlier this week, you'll remember, about that bullet cartridge that investigators found at Ground Zero, the area where Abby and Libby's bodies were discovered in the woods. They also heard about a gun that police seized from Allen's house during a search warrant served there back in 2022. Today, the state tied those two things together with the help of a firearm examiner who used to work for Indiana State Police. Examiner Melissa Oberg told jurors how she compared the unfired bullet cartridge at the crime scene with 4 test bullets that she fired through Allen's gun in the laboratory. And using a powerful microscope to inspect markings on the ammunition, she concluded the bullet at the crime scene did cycle through Allen's gun. And Oberg said she made that conclusion based on the quality and the quantity of matching marks on the bullets. So the testimony was long, all day. In fact, it's still going on right now. Oberg is still testifying under cross-examination. Some of the jurors, got to tell you, both the jurors and other folks in the courtroom at times seem bored, at other times seem downright confused, and that's because the state mentioned a whole bunch of ammunition and a whole bunch of guns that were tested related to the Delphi murders case, and they referred to all of the ammunition and firearms by their evidence number and their exhibit numbers, and they really didn't clarify what was what. In addition, Jim Luttrell, who is one of the deputy prosecutors, he really did not summarize for the jury the findings from the tool marks examiner. So it was kind of confusing today. But want to mention to you, this is really important evidence and testimony for the jury because it's the state's way to directly place Allen at the murder scene. The ballistics evidence is among the most compelling evidence the state has. During cross-examination this afternoon, the defense team pushed back on the state's conclusions. Attorney Brad Rosie highlighted this type of firearm science, which is called tool mark analysis, it's considered controversial. He also highlighted that the state's analysis was based on a bullet at the crime scene that was not fired, while the test bullets in the lab were fired. And he got Oberg to admit that her analysis and conclusions presented to the jury are subjective. Now, I want to point out that the jury got to see a lot of evidence, a lot of exhibits today regarding these. Some of it was video, some of it was photographs, including really tight shots of what the examiner saw under the microscope. And just to give you an idea of what they showed the jury, this is just a simulation because we're not allowed to bring evidence out of the courtroom, but they saw photographs, the jury saw photographs that showed essentially one picture would have been the markings on the side of the bullet casing found at the crime scene, with the other being markings on the side of the bullet that was fired through Richard Allen's gun. They then lined those up and they showed how they lined up and matched, and that is how investigators determined that there was a connection between Richard Allen's gun and what was at the crime scene. That's what they want the jury to believe. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of wade through all this really dense testimony today. We'll have more on what's going on here inside Carroll County Court coming up on 13 News at 6. For now, I'm Bob Siegel, live in Delphi. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Bob, thank you so much. And Bob will join Emily Longnecker and our 13 News legal expert, Katie Jackson-Lindsay, for our Delphi debrief on WTHR Plus.
You can watch that at 10 o'clock weeknights during the trial. WTHR Plus is available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire Stick, and Roku.
All right, developing tonight, a guilty verdict for a man accused of murdering nearly all his family in Indianapolis. It only took the jury 3 hours to convict Raymond Childs III on 6 counts of murder, attempted murder, and carrying a gun without a license. He was 17 at the time of the murders in a home on Adams Street back in January of 2021. The jury found he killed his parents, as well as his 13-year-old sister, 18-year-old brother, and his brother's 19-year-old pregnant girlfriend. The judge will sentence Childs III in January.
New tonight, a Brownsburg man is accused of pulling a woman over while pretending to be a public servant.
So the man is said to have identified as an Indianapolis firefighter. And
as our Chase Howell confirmed tonight, he is neither a firefighter or part of law enforcement.
Yeah, and according to these court documents, he actually works at the Indianapolis Airport Authority. And get this, this isn't his first time impersonating a public servant. Court documents say that Blake Ayers in 2016 put 2 15-year-old girls in handcuffs while acting like an FBI agent at a bait shop. And according to those documents, he was put on probation for it. Then he was charged in both 2020 and 2023 for false informing armed robberies, one of which he said to have cut himself with a knife. The 2023 incident he was also put on probation for. The 30-year-old faces criminal confinement, impersonation of a public servant, and unlawful display of emergency lights on a vehicle. And coming up at 6, I'll tell you some tips on how to identify a police officer versus one that's faking it. Reporting here in Brownsburg, Chase Howell, 13 News.
All right, Chase, thank you. And tonight, 2 people are under arrest for 2 different murders in Indianapolis.
The first arrest comes about a week after someone hit and killed a man on the west side of Indianapolis. Security video shows the aftermath of the crash last weekend. This happened in a parking lot just outside a bar near Washington Street and 465.
40-year-old Perry Banks died in the crash. Metro Police tell us they arrested the suspect in his death on the south side of Indy. Metro Police also arresting a 19-year-old man in connection with a deadly drive-by shooting back in March. The shooting happened at a house near East 21st and Mithofer Road. Investigators believe a car full of teens drove by, shot up the house because they thought a man lived there who was accused of raping one of their friends. 25-year-old Adam Hart was not that man, and he died in that shooting. Investigators found more than 30 bullet holes in the house. Our Karen Campbell spoke with Hart's mother today. She'll share her reaction to this 3rd arrest tonight at 5:30.
Tonight, 18 people are now under arrest as part of Operation Domestic Disruption. Metro Police are telling us they conducted this sweep of violent offenders over the last couple of weeks. They also served 26 felony warrants during that time. Angela?
Scott, today started as expected with a little rain and a few rumbles of thunder. Radar is clear now, and we are expecting it to stay that way over the next several hours and actually over the next several days. Still more clouds than sunshine right now. 64 Bunker Hill, 64 Tipton, a sign of some cooler air. Now we still have the 70s in Noblesville, 73 and 73 in downtown Indianapolis. Friday evening football sectionals get underway. That cooler air, yes, it's moving in, so take the sweatshirt, take the jacket. Ball State homecoming is tomorrow, a 3:30 kickoff, sunshine and near 60.
All right, Miss Angela, thank you so much. We'll be ready. And happening now, I-65 South is reopening. Get this, 5 days ahead of schedule.
Yeah, this is really good news. So in the last couple of hours, the Indiana Department of Transportation reopened the entrance ramp at West Street. They plan to get to work reopening the southbound lanes of I-65. Keep in mind, there will be some lane closures starting at 9 tonight as they work to clear that construction.
And they expect to have all the lanes and ramps open by 4 o'clock Saturday morning.
In 1 week, the city of Indianapolis is going to be bejeweled with Taylor Swift fans. Preparations have already started for her 3 upcoming concerts.
And with most of the fans coming in from out of state, the city wants to make sure they leave enchanted with Indianapolis. Our Marina Silver shares the plans to keep hundreds of thousands of Swifties safe.
From street signs to her giant photo on the JW Marriott building, Indy is getting decorated for the Eras Tour.
And create a sense of place.
And it's not cheap to turn Indy into a Taylor Swift hotspot.
We have invested a healthy 6 figures as a city into the decor portion of what you see.
About 81% of people who have a ticket from the concert are from outside the state of Indiana.
We don't think there's been a concert that has driven this much out of state tourism-related business.
General manager of JW Marriott, Phil Ray, says his hotel has been booked up with people wanting to stay.
We got sold out. It was the high demand. We sold the last few rooms probably in this last month or so, but it was the demand was incredible.
It's estimated that there will be more than 200,000 people who are going to be downtown during the days she is here, meaning IMPD is going to be on high alert.
You will see officers on foot, on horseback, on ATVs, in cars. You will see officers flying drones. You will see officers in downtown, focused on Monument Circle. You will see officers around Lucas Oil Stadium. You will see officers everywhere.
With more conversations happening ahead of the concert, city leaders say they have a good handle on the big event coming to Circle City. So, with just 7 days to go, Indy is, in the words of Taylor Swift, ready for it. In Indianapolis, Marina Silva, 13 News.
And IMPD is setting up an emergency alert system for the weekend.
In fact, you can join that list by texting Indy Event Alerts to this number, 67283. IMPD is also going to close some roads and divert traffic because hundreds of thousands of people are coming downtown for those 3 concerts.
As you can see from this map, there are a lot of changes beginning next Friday morning. So we have made it easier for you to get a closer look at this map.
Here's what you do. Just scan the QR code that you see right here. It'll take you to WTHR.com/scene-on-13.
There's a lot of red on that map.
Yeah, there sure is. High school football sectionals begin tonight.
And we've got our Operation Football team heading to some of the biggest games. Dave and Dom will join us at 5:30 with a look at where they're heading tonight. And first at 5, though, the McDonald's E. coli outbreak is getting worse.
We'll talk about the number of cases the CDC is reporting now, plus the race for the White House.
The big names joining the presidential nominees on the campaign trail. Next.